Drew Watson's on a plane, but he pre-recorded segments, the market update, some segments of what we're going to work on today, which is very exciting. So, you know, why don't we dive right in to the market update segment of today. So,
hey, John, before we get started, why don't we have everybody put their speakerphones on mute and turn up their computer speakers so they can hear our videos.
Nice. Very, very nice.
Okay, phone on mute.
Hello, John and D2. I'm coming to you through the miracle of digital videotape. I'm on my way to Minneapolis for a meeting, and I wanted to go over kind of what's been going on in the market since our last call. John, we've seen the reemergence of the V word, volatility. Some of this has to do with what's going on with our president, and maybe what wasn't going on with our president. Specifically speaking, we saw some volatility reemerge as Trump was under a lot of pressure from Democrats and some of his own party to speak. The biggest victim in all of this mess has been the U.S. dollar. So in our models where we use the U.S. dollar upside trade, UUP, it's been under a tremendous amount of pressure, has been in a bit of a sell-off really for the last probably 6 weeks. As of today's taping, it was coming in and closing on $25 a share. We've seen highs in the high 26s as early as last October almost, and certainly last July. But longer term, we feel like the interest rates and the economic situation will probably prevail over concerns over politics. Also, as of the date of this taping, there hasn't been anything really revealed that there might be any legitimate grounds to impeach Trump. But I think, too, it's clear that clients want to discuss it. They're concerned about it because it's been such a long time since we had any volatility at all. It's reemerged. It does concern people. In looking at the commodity patch, a softer dollar has spelled a tremendous run-up in both crude oil, gold, and silver. And typically any commodity priced in dollars, the weaker the dollar is, typically commodity prices go up. The move in crude oil has been remarkable, as at one point I think we had a 12% move closing out last week. In our growth model, we went into an unleaded gasoline trade that proved fortuitous on the timing of it, and that is up today another almost 25 cents per share. Specifically speaking, we do feel like longer term, everything that we read in oil should prove a slow drift up in prices. Specifically speaking, I think it's very important to note that about 48% of world oil production comes somewhere from besides the U.S., Saudi Arabia, or Russia. Many of those localities are in places that you would really never want to go on vacation. Iraq, Iran, Libya, Nigeria, Venezuela. Not only are those locations fraught with political instability, it has been in some cases 20 to 30 years since a Western oil company has been involved in the production facilities there, and one can only imagine that the supply infrastructure is greatly needing updating. Specifically speaking, it would not be surprising, and I'm not predicting it would happen anytime soon, but don't be surprised if you get disruptions in supply in one of these backwater countries due to the lack of infrastructure spending that has gone on. And definitely their infrastructure is not up to what we would say would be modern day code, so to speak. So we do like energy continued. Year to date, tech has been on fire. The NASDAQ had the biggest pullback on a percentage basis last week when the market was down. I think the NASDAQ was down well over 100 points. But tech continues to go on, mainly buoyed by strong earnings. I think the tech titans have all done well. Apple, Google, Amazon are ones that we follow on a regular basis. Also this year, very surprisingly, healthcare has done well. I think, again, what we read in BCA, the Obamacare discussion is really kind of more of a shell game. And when they get talking Medicare changes or Medicare reform, that is real money that affects a lot more Americans than the Affordable Care Act does. I think we'll see how that transpires. Big picture, one of the areas that struggled lately has been financials. I think part of it was a pullback in interest rates. but I think there is a real fear that maybe this tax deal doesn't get done on the timeline that was anticipated because of all the nonsense going on um, with the Democrats, the media, and the president. And we'll just need to keep watching to make sure that House Republicans and senators are able to push through some type of tax deal. If a tax deal doesn't get in place by probably the end of August, I think we'll see volatility return to the market as well, and that's something to watch for our clients. Fixed income has performed better than expected this year as the non-economic factors have also probably led to maybe a thought that interest rates won't go up as fast or as much as initially indicated. I think if you read the IRG material, you'll see there's a divergence between the hard economic data, the facts, and the soft economic data, kind of what people are seeing and feeling. And when those two converge, I think we'll be more on a straight rate trajectory up. But right now, I think as of Friday, the spread between the 3-month T-bill and the 10-year Treasury was down to about 100 and maybe 130 basis points, maybe a little bit less. That's about as tight as that's been in a long time. So we continue to watch that as our recession indicator, and that was as wide as about 160 to 170 basis points even in March. So things have gone pretty well, even though volatility has been reintroduced. It's good to see that some of the retailers have fought back, fighting the online giant Amazon, and I think we'll continue to watch energy prices and financial stocks as we go into our next meeting. We look forward to seeing you again in our next webinar.
All right, great update from Drew. Great items. Of course, always feel free to shoot Drew an email if you have a specific question around the markets, what he's doing, what he's saying to clients, but certainly some good insights here going into the summer. We usually take a hiatus from these in June and July just because people aren't on, people are vacationing, but we'll be back in August. And it is an interesting point, I think, what Drew is alluding to there. If some things aren't done, could be a volatile point the rest of the year. So it'd be great timing getting us all back together on these webinars. But today is a topic that I see a lot of advisors really getting into. I see it all across the firm, but within D2, it's been very popular, and it's multi-generational planning. It's working with different generations to really keep family money within your practice. So we've got quite a bit here. We have lots of different segments and examples planned here, but overall, I mean, I think the main thing to think about here is this is a very important way to create more value for the families you serve, but also to keep those assets within your practice. If something was to happen suddenly to a client or as they age, this is a great way to keep things around. So we have a little opening video around multi-generational planning from Drew here.
Hello, Dynamic Directions. I'm coming to you today via videotape as I'm on my way to Minneapolis to meet with the executive leadership team for a series of meetings at the end of the week. Today's topic is multi-generational planning, and you're going to be joined live with April Kemplin in our office, who is our marketing director. And I want to set the premise of why we do what we do with multi-generational planning and where it came from. Years ago, I had the opportunity to be on an Ameriprise think tank that described how much of the assets Ameriprise keeps when a client, especially an HVC client, passes. Specifically speaking, the decedent's assets, only about 1/3 to 25% stay with Ameriprise, and somewhere between 2/3 and 75% of the assets move to other firms. There were several reasons for this, but primary among those was Ameriprise really did not have a good relationship built with the heirs. That's one reason why we work in a multi-generational environment. Specifically speaking, a great colleague of mine, Rich DeGelli, in Boca Raton, Florida, works in the very same manner because most of his clients are older and their children live away. And so today we will kind of work through with you and show you how we do what we do as it pertains to that matter. One item that we do a little bit differently than other practices with multi-generational family is we do refer to it as being an integrated financial relationship, meaning not only integrated with your lawyers and CPAs, but integrated with your family, linearly. So that is both your descendants, meaning the children, and your parents. What we found in our practice is we were doing as much work helping clients deal with the aging of their parents who had not prepared for it well as we were doing helping their children get their lives established financially. So that's one main area and one main component where we are different, and it has proven to be very successful in our practice of dealing not only with children but with parents. And we position this in two different ways. Thank you and enjoy our presentation.
Okay, so this is a good, I think, lead up. It's great to hear about Boca Raton, Florida. We certainly have some D2 advisors there where the average age is deceased and their children live somewhere else. And I hear that a lot from advisors that, hey, my clients, their children live somewhere else, and they probably have somebody, and it might not work out. But this is important to keep in mind. Different generations like to do business differently. Most of our clients are 50s, 60s is the bulk of clients, the baby boomers. They are the traditional come into the office, you pick up the phone, you call them, they answer. That's the way they like to do business. When you get under that generation, more into your Gen Xers, this is more of your email era. They're starting to become more texters. And we've got to do business differently with those people. That generation is not a go sit in an office for an hour and a half meeting type generation. And, at the Ameriprise National Conference last week, they talked about how the generations to come will have far more wealth than this baby boomer generation. It's not just a burst that's going to go away. The amount of assets that generations to come are going to have is going to continue to increase. So I think that's really important to keep in mind that it's okay if kids of your clients live away. They probably prefer to deal in email or texting or a quick phone call than go sit in your office for a long time. And as you get down to maybe 30s or 20s, I mean, you're getting into never going to come into the office type people. So it's ideal to work with people that are in other parts of the country. And if you've got a large enough client, you want to help out those kids, it's worthwhile to do it. So I think bringing it up has been a concern for a lot of advisors. They've said, okay, I get it. I've had a mindset shift. I need to be helping the kids of my clients, but how the heck do I bring it up to people? So we've got a segment. Drew's got a video on how he brings it up, and then me and April will discuss an actual letter that we use. But let's go to the video on how Drew brings this up with clients.
Advisors will ask, how do we bring this up with clients? Well, one, April will show you in our menu of services, it's clearly identified in the integrated level of financial planning. With our clients who are at the two top tiers, platinum and noir levels of our client service model, we do also send out a complimentary letter identifying how we work in this fashion. April has both of those samples, and John should have them on the deck as well. But in the meeting, we like to bring it up and refer to it as just kind of asking the clients what else is going on in your lives financially. Do you have children? Tell me about your parents. As it pertains to the parents, a lot of times as parents are getting older, they sometimes have health struggles, and that may involve looking at whether or not maybe some type of Medicare trust is something that's been proposed to the parents, gifting strategies, as well as whether or not the parents or parent qualifies for Veterans Administration benefits. I would make it a key point to have someone in your office become an expert in VA benefits. Most people are totally unfamiliar with what their VA benefits are if they served. What you would need to do is familiarize yourself, especially with the aid and assistance benefit, as the income level on the aid and assistance benefit is a net amount less their care amounts. So if you have a parent of a client and that parent was a veteran or the widow of a veteran and they're already receiving home care or assisted living or full facility care, they may very well be entitled to aid and assistance benefit, and this literally will be money that was just found out of thin air for them. For all the Veterans Administration does for their veterans, communication and communicating these benefits is not one of their strong suits. So that's how we bring it up when we talk about parents. Another item with parents is a lot of times a meeting would get rescheduled because one of our clients is taking care of their parents. Just keep a good conversation in your office with one of your staff of what's going on in your clients' lives, and you will see the right time to kind of insert yourself into this discussion. Specifically speaking, more often than not, we get involved after one of the parents has died and there's just a surviving spouse. And specifically speaking, sometimes the spouse that passed away handled all the financial decisions. This is something new to the surviving spouse. If there's health care issues, you can get into a whole full range of financial planning services for these people and provide your clients with literally the weight of the world being removed from their shoulders. We have several client groups, especially when there's just boys and no daughters, that this makes them feel very, very good that someone else is able to kind of step in, help mother or help dad with their situation where they don't feel like everything is coming from them, especially if they have other siblings. A best practice in this model is to always, once the client approves, CC all the siblings, all the children on the communication so everyone knows what's going on at all times. As it pertains to working with the children of our clients, for those top 2 levels in our office, we will discuss at length what's going on with your children now that college is over with, the job market, are there student loans that need to be worked with, is there a potential wedding, is there a first home purchase, and keep in mind if the children have been receiving gifts or if they have other assets, these early years, especially once they're married and if they're still going through secondary education and have additional tax credits, is an opportune time to just give your clients a little bit of knowledge about what it means to convert IRA assets to a Roth, and then get that conversation started directly with the children. So typically, we bring this up in many ways, but the key is know your client, know their situation, know their entire family, and this provides many doors that can be opened in just a regular conversation of a client review meeting. Always plant the seed because it may not be the right time when you discuss it, but bring that up, show them the menu of services once a year, and if something happens to one of their parents or children, they'll be on the phone reaching out to you, calling the office, sending you a text, etc.
It's great stuff there. So let's bring up this sample letter here. So April, tell us about the process. Drew talking about how he positioned. So tell us about this letter and what you all are doing with this.
Okay, so this first one is the letter to children, and I guess we probably should show the letter to parents first. Typically, what has happened is we send out the letter to parents to our top 2 tiers in the mail, so they're already aware that this is the direction that we're going. So then when they come into the review, Drew talks about it again. So it should be the second time that those clients are hearing about it. And then he discusses it, it's on the menu of services for that integrated level, like the top 2 tiers as he discussed, as an option for services for them. So he'll bring that up in the meetings, and then the second letter, once they say, yes, I have this child and this is the situation, or the parent or whatever, this letter here goes out to the child. So then he informs his assistant to get that letter out. And that's typically how it works here.
Now, April, do you ever do this over email, or do you physically send the letter with the enclosures? Because there's a whole bunch of enclosures there.
If we have an email address, like if the parent actually gives us an email address, we can send it out by email, but typically we send it out by mail.
Nice.
Just so that they can have all of the materials with it. And once we have that address, then we add them to MOD, and they can start getting the monthly newsletters and things like that as well.
So I've already gotten 2 texts saying, "Can I get these letters?" So Jacqueline, I think we're planning to include these on the follow-up email when that comes out, right?
Yes. And these letters are Ameriprise approved already, so they're good to go.
That is awesome. This is a great formal way to bring it up, a great kind of starting point. You know, I think the next point that comes up for people is once we get in here, we kind of the doors opened, helping out. I think parents, mom and dad, the client, are really good about bringing this up and helping out. Then the next step becomes when the advisor connects with the child. I hear a lot of advisors say, "Gosh, I'm not sure what to do here. Should I just help them out for free? Do I charge them a fee? Do I ask the parents to pay a fee?" So Drew had some thoughts around pricing that we wanted to show in a video here. So let's hear Drew's thoughts when it comes to pricing of working with kids.
Pricing is always a key issue. Typically, for our very top level clients, we let them know this is kind of included in the fee for advice they're paying for us. And we let them know on children, eventually once the children reach what we consider to be the economic age of majority, they will start paying a reduced fee for our services. But initially, we do this work gratis, as we are typically dealing with just usually one of 3 or 4 concepts for the children. For parents of our clients, we do charge a fee. It is typically a little bit lower than what our average client account fee is, depending on the scope of the work. Some of the fees may be larger if they need more complex trust work, but generally speaking, these fees are right in line with our normal financial planning fee service and just discounted very, very little. Specifically speaking, we feel like it's best to have this all spelled out in your menu of services, and your clients obviously know that we don't work for free all the time, but you do have the additional goodwill built in when you are helping the entire family. So the pricing's in the menu of services. For children, we'll start off until they really kind of have their feet underneath them and probably do this work for gratis. And then once they are kind of getting their groundwork, we do start charging a minimum financial planning fee. With parents, that fee is typically between the minimum and what our average financial planning fee is, and we work on that on an annual basis with clients. If your clients have a trust already established and funded, keep in mind most trust departments will pay for financial planning services for all beneficiaries. So for several clients that are young family members, the trust pays the financial planning fee, as that is part of the trust language and that has been adopted by the various trust committees. One such trust committee is the Ameriprise Trust Committee, and they will certainly pay for financial planning fees for the beneficiaries of each trust.
So some great insights there. I know we got the actual menu of services to pull up here. A lot of people ask about Druze. I believe we showed this down in Miami. So April, tell us a little bit about your menu and some of the levels that Drew referenced here. Where at the high end you would include this, where at the low end, once a child's at the financial age of maturity and should be paying on their own, where they would fall. Tell us how this whole thing works.
Okay, the actual client in the top 2 tiers is going to fall under the integrated section, which is the advanced advice on the far right-hand side. We call it the Family Tree Initiative, but all of that multi-generational planning is included in their services. So it says that his fees are $2,500 plus. That includes it's no extra cost to them to for us to work with their children or their parents. Now, the parents and the children would fall in the far left categories, either under just investing in wealth management or the foundational advice column. The parents would probably fall more in the foundational advice, right around the $750 range, as just depending on what their situation is. And as Drew discussed, he would waive the fees in the initial years for the children until they became of economic age to where they could sustain paying a minimal fee of $500.
And yeah, you're right, April. I mean, these the kids won't be as complex cases. They're probably pretty simple for you to dig in there and help out. Back in Miami, gosh, hard to believe it's a couple of months now, but when we were in Miami, Drew talked about one of the things that comes up a lot with children of clients is their student loan refinancing and helping them find a better rate, consolidating it, getting them a lower rate, and something little that's easy like that is very easy to do. And Drew also talked about, for those of you that may have a younger associate financial advisor in your practice, what a great thing for them to do. They could help those younger clients and probably relate to them better. I think even if there was just someone on your team, even an intern, I mean, they could look into easy things that they'll be facing when they get out of school, like that simple one. He said we do a lot of student loan refinancing, and they're simpler cases. They don't take a lot of time and energy, but it's amazing how appreciative people are, the parents, or if you're dealing with parents and you're dealing with the kids generation, the parents are much older. It's the value that you're bringing. So right there, if you look all the way at the right of the menu, at the advanced advice slide, which April mentioned is the top two tiers in Drew's practice, you can see that the first area of services offered is coordinate multi-generational family members, parents, and children. Coordinate with them. That is huge. It's right on there. It's the very first thing. It's one of the highest value items on the menu. So it's a great point. And then when they're ready, the kids can be at the bottom. Again, these are easier plans, and doing a much lower fee for these is not a big deal at all. So that conundrum comes up, though, of what the heck do I do if the kids aren't right here in my town? They're halfway across the country, and what do we do about that? So we got a little video segment here from Drew on what the heck to do when you've got a child of a client that lives away.
John, invariably we get the question, how do I work with the children of a client that have moved away from the area? As I state this, typically the children of clients are a little bit more technologically astute than their parents. So we handle this just like we would do any other out-of-the-office client. You can do conference calls, set up a video sharing session. We have conference call lines. There's Skype. There's multiple services that you could use to do a virtual office meeting with just about anyone. Now, depending on the clients, they may even want to do a Snapchat or some type of text you information, because that's how younger people communicate. It depends on just how far away they are and how technically astute and how comfortable they are in working with you in that matter. It's always a best practice around the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, perhaps even the summer times if they come back home. Oftentimes birds return to the nest for these types of holidays, so it's a good practice to have your office open, even just to do an informal 15 to 30 minute face-to-face, flesh-to-flesh, handshake-to-handshake meeting with these children, so they get to know you a little bit better, and more importantly, they get the physical interaction with your team. Because oftentimes the children of the clients are going to work with maybe a junior advisor or AFA, and it is imperative that they get to meet the entire breadth of your team so that they feel comfortable moving forward and have questions, but they don't always have to rely on you.
You know, there's there's a lot of ways. I think I've seen some other practices get some of those kids together around the holidays and do some neat things. You know, you could come up with a neat event just for kids of clients that are from out of town and make it fun for them. I've seen some around the holidays have a little party for those that have, you know, kids that have kids, have a little Santa around. I've seen others where they'll do fun things that a younger person would want to do. And that way you can meet a whole bunch of them at once. You don't have to set up individual meetings on like Christmas Eve or on a holiday, but there's lots of ways to do it. But I think Drew's right on. It's the younger generations prefer to do business and deal with people through technology. And doing a meeting like this on camera, doing a meeting on this thing, you know, this is the that's really the future, and that's really the I think the mindset we have to have is that different generations will want to do business in a different way, and that's going to be so much easier if you do have younger people on your staff, whether it's a younger AFA or an intern or somebody else. Use their help if you're not used to using this stuff or using WebEx. Get their help. They know. They've grown up and lived in the tech world their whole life. For a lot of us, it kind of came about in a halfway or the last third of our life. All of a sudden, all this stuff came about we have to use. But for them, they've been using it their whole life. It's easy for them. And so I'd say get some help from some younger people on that. But, yeah, it really breaks down those geographical barriers of someone living away can absolutely work with mom and dad's advisor. And it really doesn't matter if they're in California and you're in New York. It's very, very possible to do. But Drew's right. The birds do return home from the nest. And I think it's a great way to get a little face-to-face meeting, to get a little event or a little something that you get people together certainly helps. And the key to all this is you're keeping the assets at your firm. If, God forbid, something suddenly happened to mom and dad, what are the kids going to do? Are they going to think of you first and want to deal with you first, or are they going to go to somebody else? Are they going to say, hey, I saw online Schwab has something, it's really cheap. I think I'll just go there. Hey, I hear Vanguard's cheap. Well, my friend's a broker. He just graduated college. He just started. I'll probably deal with him. You want to be the one they think of first. That, oh my gosh, Randy White's helped my parents for years. I've had some contact with him. He's helping me out. Gosh, I really need him to be the one to help me through this. I don't know what the heck I'm going to do with this $2.5 million I just inherited. I don't know if there's taxes. I don't know what the heck's going on. I need someone's help. You want to be the one they think of first. So that's really the whole point behind this is they're not going to be their ideal clients today, but tomorrow they will be. So I think it's some great ways, just from a mindset perspective, to think about people that are away. Today's world, younger people, there is no geographical barriers. You can work with people all over the country. So we have one last segment here on what the heck to do. You know, the rubber hits the road. If you're providing value to these kids and these clients, you know, that's really what keeps them around. The value you provide builds a moat around our clients. And so we want to help them, but you want to deliver some value here. So Drew's got some ideas on what the heck you can do once you get one of these kids in, once you do engage them in the menu, once you are communicating with them. Here's some ideas of what you can do for them.
John, as I mentioned in the lead into the segment, you can work on multiple opportunities with these clients. Specifically speaking, when you're dealing with children of your clients, one, I think it's important to get a junior team member involved, perhaps a person closer in age to the child, so they can have that contemporaneous relationship built in with your practice to make it more of a true generation to generation working, where our generations are working with their generations. Typically, early on, you're going to be, especially if it's a professional type child, probably some student debt issues, student loans, looking at whether they should be a first-time home buyer or they continue to rent. Looking at marriage issues, as crazy as it may seem, what do they need to know, even if it's a one-time meeting, about the legal aspects of getting married. And it may be reviewing with them what their employee benefit options are once they do get a job, and how do they need to be saving, and do they need to be doing either a pre-tax 401k, a Roth 401k, a Roth IRA, and how much they need to be saving on their own for their goals. That is typically how it works with children. To get a little bit more in depth with children, if they're going to continue their education or they get married, we look at what their tax situation would be going from single filer status to married filing jointly. Are there going to be educational tax credits under the lifetime learning credit that are available to them? And if they have one on the way, what does the child tax credit do? Is it non-refundable or refundable? And what will the extra exemption mean on their income tax situation? As you work with your client's parents, that's a whole different ball of wax. Typically where we've come in is being there to replace maybe a spouse that handled most of the financial information and decisions in the family. Maybe we're there just to have an extra set of eyes and ears in case the children fear that mom or dad is not as with it as they used to be. We are great about communicating with the entire family in these situations. What you don't want to do when there are multiple children is to have one or more children feel like there's a favored child that's kind of running things from behind the scenes. So we always make it a best practice to send follow-up letters in these situations to all of the children. We never discuss dollar amounts in the follow-up letters, but we make sure we have on file that the client doesn't mind you discussing things with their children, and also laying out basically what is going on from meeting to meeting. Occasionally I'll have a child call. They'll thank me for the fact that they're getting these letters. They were worried about either mom or dad. They feel much more confident now, and they just want to meet me themselves. As a corollary to this, that does open up the opportunity to perhaps do business with these siblings that have moved away, but often more than not, you're kind of locking down the part of the inheritance that your client would have and getting additional inheritances. Specifically speaking, it's been our sense here that generally about 1 out of 3 people really cannot handle themselves financially. So don't be discouraged if you feel like, I'm not keeping all the money when a client passes away. I think most data in our industry would support what our kind of anecdotal evidence is about this, but we want to make sure we work with these clients in every way we can. When you get into older clients, there is a new kind of permutation in the legal community out there called elder care. And there are a lot of offshoots of elder care, and the pricing on these services can be astronomical. Typically, they're priced at 2 to 3 months of skilled nursing care, and in our kind of rural area in Kentucky, those bills are somewhere between $16,000 to $24,000 to get all the trusts set up. So you want to make sure before your clients go down this road, you can save their family perhaps tens of thousands of dollars right off the bat. If it's appropriate, they will sometimes choose to go the elder care route, but more often than not, if you have a very good financial planning shop and work with a group of attorneys yourselves, you may be able to provide them just as much protection in a way that is much more cost effective. Probably the final way we work with the parents of our clients is also in just ensuring that all their assets are in a way to be inherited in the best way possible for their children. Specifically speaking, we look at what their tax situation is and what their potential probate exposure is. What are the taxable assets and non-taxable assets? We will set down, work a plan with those parents of our clients in a way that to ensure the assets pass efficiently, effectively, in the least amount of time and trouble as possible. So those are typically things that we work on, John, in working in this multi-generational approach.
So if there's some questions out there, go ahead and fire them in the chat box. Of course, you can email me, Drew, April, if you have some questions around this stuff. We'll send out those 2 letters, Druze menu of services. We'll send those things out as an example. Hey, April, is the menu a PDF format?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because a lot of times, advisors just like to take these examples and just throw their name on it. But I think on the Ameriprise computers, I know at D2, we have Adobe, we can change PDFs. On Ameriprise computers, can you easily edit that? Like, what should people do if they want to copy Drew's menu?
This file here, they can edit it, so they can change. There's certain pieces on there that are locked that Ameriprise will not allow you to edit. But as far as the personal information and the contact information, it is allowable.
Excellent news, everyone. So we'll send those out here by the end of the week. But I think when it comes to this, let's first of all, you got to have a Nike moment and just do it. This is huge. This is very, very important. I'd look at your top 10 clients and maybe pick 2 to start this with if you haven't done it before. And just start small. Start with a couple of people. Take that approach. You can show them the letters and talk with the client about it and let them know, gee, I think we could be helping your kids. I'll do it for free. We just want to make sure that they're making good decisions. Something I always say is if, God forbid, something happened to you, we want to make sure that they could do good decisions. With all this money you've spent your lifetime building, we want to be in a place to help them so they're not lost and they don't know what to do. And a lot of times you can turn this into the clients really pushing, saying, hey, kid, you need to talk to this person because we really need to get you some help. I've found that also, too, maybe having a 3-way initial call where maybe the parents could kind of help introduce and say, hey, so-and-so, this is John. He's been our advisor for many years. He helps us out with everything that has to do with money. He's available to help you for free. We just wanted to make sure you all met. Maybe you 2 could set up a call at some point and talk about what you have going on and see if there's anything that they can help you with or give you some advice on. Also, you can reach out to them. You can text them, call them, email them if you have some questions. Just that initial step is really all you need to take. And then once you take it, the cases aren't hard. There isn't a lot of difficulty. Drew gave some great things that you can work on. And I think going back to the replays of these webinars is really important. I hear sometimes some advisors, they say, gosh, the stuff just blew by quick and I didn't catch it all. And that's okay. That's why we record them. You can go back and in every single segment and watch Drew and listen to him, listen to April on how they're doing it. And you can just copy. But if you're not doing this, I would start small. Look at the top of your book, the assets you really want to preserve. How can you help the next generation? And then just keep going down your book, especially that top tier, that top 2 tiers. You want as many of the kids, the parents as possible. You want to be helping all the generations that you can help. So great webinar today. Really, really good one. Definitely one to check out the replay. As I said, we'll get some of those 2 letters. The menu of services will be in the follow-up email that'll come up here by the end of the week. But thank you, Drew, who's in the air. Awesome job. Thank you, April. Thank you, as always, Jacqueline, for putting these on. Everyone stay bullish out there. Everyone have a great Memorial Day weekend, and we'll see each and every one of you very, very soon. Take care.
See ya.
Bye.